Although our name is Lucy's Retired Surfers Bar and Restaurant, there's nothing tired or retired about anything we do. Meet Me at Lucy's has been our slogan and battle cry for nearly 3 decades in New Orleans. Located in the heart of the Warehouse District, Lucy's has truly been the destination spot for nearly every occasion. Whether it's happy hour after work, before and after Saints and Pelicans games, or just a delicious bite to eat at all hours, Lucy's is the perfect place to meet up, hang out, and unwind for a great time. And while you're there, you should try one of our signature surfing cocktails, like the Shark Attack or Blue Whale. And for the truly courageous, our famous Scorpion Tequila Shot. Remember, Meet Me at Lucy's is our slogan, but don't forget to bring your favorite pooch, because our lifeguard chair is always open. Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
Fall in love with autumn with PJ's new seasonal lattes. Our pumpkin latte brings you all the flavors of a pumpkin pie, with hints of cinnamon and nutmeg, like your favorite holiday dessert in a cup. And our s'mores latte, with flavors of toasted marshmallows, warm milk chocolate, and graham cracker cinnamon, is sure to bring back campfire memories. The PJ's Fall Seasonal Lattes, available at your local PJ's, only for a limited time.
So here's the bottom line. You say that. Let me tell you. Good evening and welcome to Primetime Sports. Well, I'm your host, Scott Alexander, and I cannot wait for this show tonight. Hey, remember last week? We had LSU legend Craig Steltz. He went on for a 7-year career with the Chicago Bears. I've got another LSU legend who played in the NFL. His name is Sammy Martin. That's right. His LSU teams from 1984 to 87. How about this? 36-6-3. They had their regular season record. They only lost 4 conference games when he was there for those 4 years. He's going to join me, one of the Saints' all-time jack of all trades as a receiver, rusher, and kick returner, one of the best they've ever had. Also, Southland Coach of the Year from last year in basketball, Mark Slessinger. And I've got a couple beat writers from the Pelicans and the Saints joining me to talk about those teams in depth. But speaking of the Saints, how about this 30-10 victory this weekend over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? And that was quite a win. Alvin Kamara, can I say enough good things about this young rookie? Over 150 total yards and a touchdown. He was fabulous. But defense has been the calling card for this team. Alex Okafor and Cam Jordan, those 2 defensive ends have combined for almost 11 sacks already this season. But it is the play of Marshawn Lattimore, the rookie cornerback. He has absolutely owned opponents. Some say he might already be the best cornerback in the game. By the way, Mike Evans, that cheap shot that you gave our man Lattimore, you are out for next game. So see you later. Hasta la vista, baby. Hey, how about this? The Saints are 4th in the NFL in point differential. Can you believe this? 4th in the league. That is astounding. Let's move on to college football. LSU and Alabama, the Tigers. Well, they played the best team in the country, the Alabama Crimson Tide, who've been outscoring their opponents by 40 points a game. Well, LSU out-yarded Alabama, but they couldn't convert when they needed to, so they've lost 7 straight to the Tide. They lost this one 24-10. Tulane, on the other hand, well, now they've lost 4 straight games, a heartbreaker to Cincinnati. And Nichols, I can't say enough good things about them. 5 straight wins. Hey, the college football rankings came out, and Georgia was number 1 because of their strength of schedule. But Bama, who I still think is the best team in the country, they are number 2. We'll see how that goes tonight. Notre Dame at number 3. Clemson at number 4, but tonight, can Oklahoma jump into the top 4 on the strength of their incredible 62-52 win over Oklahoma State this weekend? Hey, the Miami Hurricanes, hey, their history's coming back. They were impressive beating Virginia Tech, but this week they host Notre Dame, and the winner of this game will be in the driver's seat for the Final Four berth, and a bad weekend for the Big Ten. Both Ohio State, Penn State lost, but Wisconsin is still undefeated, and despite their schedule, they have a chance as well. Hey, how about the Astros? We know they won the World Series, but this week, former LSU star Alex Bregman was on the cover of this week's Sports Illustrated. We have a big show. Stay tuned. Primetime Sports is coming up next.
Scotty says, I watch my TV show. Scotty says, on Primetime Sports. Scotty says, I watch my TV show. I got my Primetime Sports. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Good evening and welcome back to Primetime Sports. I always love to get the show kicked off with Fred LeBlanc and Cowboy Mouth. That gets me in the right mood. Hey, speaking of the right mood, if you're an LSU Tiger fan in the 1980s, the latter part of the decade, well, then you know my next guest well. His name is Sammy Martin. He was a superstar at De La Salle. He went on to play for the New England Patriots for a few years, one of the leading kick returners in their history. Obviously, he then went on for the Colts and had a cup of coffee with the New Orleans Saints as well. But at LSU, he was prime time. This guy had over 1,000 yards rushing and receiving his senior year, one of the fastest guys that has ever worn the purple and gold for the Tigers, and one of the most prolific kick returners in their history. And here he is right here for the first time on the show. Sammy Martin, welcome to the show. Last week I had Craig Steltz, and this year it's Sammy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well.
Hey, let's get into the Tigers. I mean, back in your day, people don't remember this, but your 4 years there, 84, 85, 86, and 87, astounding, only 6 regular season losses, 36, 6-3. Never had more than 2 losses in any season, in the regular season, obviously. And then in the SEC schedule, you never had more than 1 loss. You guys were damn good.
We had a very good teams, that is. Bill Onsbarger really set the groundwork with the defense, and he brought in, he let Coach Zoneberger go on the offense, and we had some great years.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got to be mentored by guys like Dalton Hilliard and Gary James. I mean, some of the great running backs of that era. You know, you were a great high school running back, but going in, that's a different level. What was it like to be taught by guys like that?
It was wonderful to be able to watch and sit back and just watch Dalton Hilliard and Gary James practice. And I mean, Dalton going down the line, and as big as his legs and his shoulders were, he would he would get through a hole about this big. He'd turn his shoulders and just go. And I was like, oh.
Well, I mean, talk about that era of LSU, because you came in, and LSU obviously has a great history, but in '83 it wasn't so good. You decided to go be a Tiger. What was it about that team in '84 that started that turnaround? I mean, because you had Wickersham as a quarterback for the first couple of years, I believe, and then I believe it became Tommy Hodson's gig. But y'all had an aura about you for that. Other than the golden era of Saban to Les Miles, that might have been one of the best in LSU history.
Yeah, I believe that's what Bill Onsbarger came to do. He wanted to win the SEC, and we got there in '86, and that was his deal. He was coming in to turn LSU program around. I think he was very successful, obviously.
I mean, let's see. Obviously, Onsbarger is the one that started. He came right away. He was only there 3 years, right?
That's correct.
But those were 3 magical years. You got a couple SEC titles in there. The bowl. Your first time you're playing in the Superdome as a kid. You grew up in New Orleans. You're a West Banker. You went to De La Salle.
Right.
What was it like going into the Sugar Bowl and playing inside that dome?
It was very exciting. I don't think I played but maybe once in high school in there. So I didn't come back and play Tulane other than that. But going in as a freshman playing against Nebraska in the Sugar Bowl was something that Bill Onsbarger told me. He said, Sammy, he said, if you come to De La Salle, he said,
come to LSU.
Come to LSU, sorry.
Yeah.
He was at De La Salle.
Right.
He said, you come to LSU, and I promise you, he said, you will not start, but you'll play in the bowl game your first year.
And you were in the bowl game your first year and every year after that. By the way, speaking of De La Salle, I mean, you were like one of these legends out of that school, I know. I mean, literally track, football, all that. But it wasn't, you're kind of like the Carl Lewis of the Catholic League, a guy that ran the 100, ran the relay, high jump, long jump. I mean, tell me how that helped you with your football career.
Oh, the agility and the training to run. I mean, I was built for speed. I'm not built for necessarily strength. I didn't do a whole lot of squatting, but jumping, over my head, high jumping, and that just helped me build the muscles that I needed.
And did you ever think, when did you realize you were going to be a pro? Because, I mean, that's a huge step. Going from high school to college is huge. college to the NFL. I mean, that's just a giant step. But you not only got to the Patriots a couple years after their Super Bowl, they lost to the Bears in the mid-'80s, before the year when they played the Packers, I believe. But you excelled. I mean, when did you think you were going to make it?
Well, when they called me, I guess. I think ESPN only had 2 rounds back in the day on TV.
So you weren't called then?
So I wasn't called then, right? I had to wait by the phone, and I had a lot of people talk to me. Even my sophomore year, I accidentally ran the 40 when they were timing Gary James and Dalton Hilliard, and I ran a really good time on grass. And I think they saw me back then by accident, and just followed my career, and told me they were going to draft me, and I was just crossing my fingers.
Well, you were always fast. I remember you ran a 9.28 100 yards back in high school, and you still finished 3rd that year in the state. I mean, that's almost unbelievable.
I was in the Catholic League district. It was,
I mean, those guys are fast, huh?
Andre Rome and Alvin Lawson.
You're bringing up some names from the past right there. Who was the guy that hit you the hardest that you remember? I'm going to go on the pro level and also at LSU. Do you remember that one stick that you got? I know you were pretty elusive, and it was hard to stick you, but you had to have gotten at least one pop that you remember.
The hardest one probably was my roommate, Rob Cuthbert from Bonneville. We played at Bonneville with Steve Ray
Bonneville,
Hodge.
that's a shout-out.
That's right. He played with Ray Hodge. Isn't
Yeah,
he?
Steve Ray Hodge, that's right.
He stuck me in the ear hole one time in a scrimmage. And he was my roommate, so he laughed all night, and I was ringing in the ears. That was one I didn't see.
And he just knocks you hard. Right. By the way, speaking of that team, you mentioned Ray Hodge, Tommy Hodson, Wendell Davis. We mentioned Dalton Hilliard and Gary James. I mean, but we could go on and on. Talk about some of the players that you've had on some of those special teams.
Roger McGee. I believe so many people.
Eric Andelsek. Eric Hill.
Eric Andelsek, Eric Hill, Harvey Williams, Eddie Fuller.
I mean, my goodness.
Man, if I'm leaving too many people out, Tony Moss.
And then
it's Willie Bryant. I mean,
Willie
Bryant from Florida. He's a guy that was out there blocking for me, and they did a heck of a job.
I mean, how many dudes on that team?
Tommy Edick, my buddy from Houston.
There you go. How many of those dudes? You got a little shout out for you, Edick. How many of those dudes on that team actually went to the NFL? I'm not saying a number, but it's an astounding amount.
Goodness, I might be not kind of fibbing a little bit, I guess. I think about 8 guys drafted my senior year.
But just in one class, though.
Right,
I'm talking about but throughout your 4 years there.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it's in the 30s, I know. Going to the Patriots, though, you kind of switched. I know you played some wide receiver at LSU, but you were running back coming up, and then they kind of moved you when Wendell Davis got hurt. But then you became purely a wide receiver, kick returner. What was the difference doing that than playing running back?
Playing running back's a little easier because you get a head start. Yeah. You can run. Now you get in the NFL and you play wide receiver and you got a defensive back that's 6'2", and he's got long arms and he's hard to get around.
Yeah, right. It makes it a
not the easiest thing to do.
Well, was it hard to learn the position? After you've been playing one for a long time, because it is a whole new thing.
Whole different offense, a whole different scheme. Really, most of it's the same. But we had great coaches at LSU. Coach Sullivan, Jerry Sullivan, that helped Wendell Davis and Raji and all those guys. He worked with me pretty good, so I had a foot in on it anyway. It wasn't all that bad. Great coaches, Raymond Berry, the head coach, Coach Jackson, wide receiver.
Raymond Berry, he's a legend, by the way.
Right.
I mean, he was a legend of Johnny Unitas, Raymond Berry, Colts, but he was your obviously your coach there. Hey, but by the way, you played for 2 of the great quarterbacks. Jeff Wickersham, when he left LSU, he was the #1 all-time passing leader for LSU. And he got passed by the guy that you ended up your last 2 years, Tommy Hodson. I've had Wickersham on the show recently. Tommy's been on my radio show a bunch. 2 great guys. But talk about playing with each of those quarterbacks because they're special in their own right.
Well, I think Tommy got into the later years of Ed Zoneberger's offense.
Yeah.
You understand? I think it progressed.
Right.
Year after year after year. That's why it showed we went 10-1-1 at the end. But just a different type, they both tough, don't get me wrong. Jeff run over people if he could.
Yeah, no doubt.
He's tough, and so was Tommy, but I just think that's a difference that the offense had really went up.
Right. Tommy, it's so funny because Jeff was on the show, and was he always this polite? Because he's yes sir, no sir to us, and he's older than me. I'm like, hey, Mr. Scott. And he's like, only Mr. Scott. I'm like, you're older than me. It seems a little weird. He wasn't always like that, was he?
Not always, but he's a businessman. He's a good guy and a very intelligent person. Obviously, both of them. But
you got a chance after you played. You had that 1 year with the Colts. You did great things there, but you had that one chance to come home. And there's your Colts year, but you had the chance to come home. We have a shot of you getting a touchdown in a live scrimmage against the Chiefs right there. You were a New Orleans Saint, a hometown boy. What was that like? I know you ended up getting hurt and got put on IR right at the end of the preseason, but what was it like for a kid from New Orleans to come home and be able to put the black and gold on?
Well, it was great. I think the day before I got put on injury reserve was Monday Night Football against the Chicago Bears.
That was the Saints' opening game?
No, it was the last preseason game.
Oh, last preseason game.
Monday Night Football.
Okay.
And I scored the winning touchdown with 4, 5, 10, 14 seconds.
So you got the winning touchdown.
Monday Night Football.
Now, Monday Night Football.
In the Superdome.
Yeah. Oh, how amazing was that?
It was wonderful. It was really good. And on my way out, I seen a childhood friend who was kind of like a coach to me. Uh-huh. When I was, his name was Tommy Trahan.
Yeah.
He used to have a little team. We'd go play down at the end of the street against another team.
Yeah, right.
So, but I saw him, and I was able to hand him one of my wristbands.
You got the wristband? And then, did it ever have any regret not being able to play it during the regular season? Because that's an amazing moment. I mean, it really is. You got to score the winning touchdown in the Dome on Monday Night Football, and you're a home team guy. But do you have any regrets not being able to play the regular season?
Oh, yeah. I regret not going on from there. I mean, not regret. It happens. You get
disappointment.
Hurt. Yeah, disappointment.
Right.
You live in a dream, and all of a sudden,
it's over.
That dream's over. But
speaking of the dream over, what is Sammy Martin doing now? People want to keep up. I mean, I know you're in Picayune, Mississippi. Now, don't go hunt him down in his house or anything. But what's Sammy up to?
I'm back in business for myself. After football, I sold cars for a year. Went into landscaping. My buddy Dan Burge from LSU. But I learned landscaping from him, and I went on my own business, became a nurseryman. Katrina kind of threw a monkey in that wrench.
Sure.
Went into doing safety work. Did safety work for 5 or 6 years, offshore, onshore. Sold cars again. Now I'm back to landscaping.
Well, let me say this. We always want to know where our legends are, and I truly put you in that category. You're one of the dudes that I remember fondly because when you got in the open field at Tiger Stadium, we knew it was likely going to be 6 points. So it's an honor for me to have you finally on the show. I've been trying to get you on. There you're in the open field against A&M. There it is. That's a touchdown. I can promise you that.
That's one everybody remembers.
Well, guys, going to break. Here's a gift certificate. I want you to bring whoever you like over to Shays de la Shays. But here, I'm going to sign you the new ball. There's only 2 guys on this new ball.
Wow.
One's name is Les Miles, and the other is Craig Stelz, a consensus first-team All-American.
Big time.
So I'm going to get me a Sammy Martin on that. And as you sign and go to break, tell me about the run that everybody remembers. Tell me real quick.
About that one, we were well-schooled. Zone breaker knew they were going to blitz. Mickey Gidger came into the game. He saw the lineup. He adjusted. And we looked at each other. We looked at each other and went,
we got this. Yeah. I like that little look. They shake their head, that knowing look that they're about to score. Hey, we got a great show. Continue. That's Sammy Martin. We open that up. We're going to talk some Pels later in the show with Will Guillory. I'm also going to talk some Saints with Amos Morale, and I can't wait for that. But, hey, Mark Slessinger, one of my favorite human beings on this planet, he's coming up in a bit as well, and he is the head coach of the UNO Privateers, the Southland champion defending UNO Privateers. So we have a great show too. Stay tuned on Primetime Sports. Welcome back to Primetime Sports. We talked to Sammy Martin just now, who had a cup of coffee with the New Orleans Saints. He was mostly a New England Patriot and LSU Tiger. but now we got a guy that covers the Saints on a regular basis. He covers a little bit of everything. His name is Amos Morale III. Sounds like he could be an actor. And here he is right here with Times-Picayune and NOLA.com. We're going to have one of his cohorts later in the show. Will Guillory, of course, is going to be on. He's going to talk Pelicans, and he's also at NOLA.com, Times-Picayune. And then don't forget Mark Slessinger, the head coach, the reigning Southland champion, Coach of the Year. Mark Slessinger is going to be with us. He is the coach for the Privateers. But it's Saints talk right now, and I've got Amos on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing great today. Doing great.
You've been at the Times-Picayune for a long time. You're a young guy. You got out of LSU. You were an LSU Tiger during the glory years.
Yes.
From 2006 to 2010, they got a national title. Les Miles did very good things back then. What was it like being at LSU during the time the LSU football team was doing very well?
It wasn't just the football team. We made a Final Four my freshman year.
John Brady, we proud that you remember that?
Won a baseball championship.
Yes, you did.
We were killing it in sports then. It was a good time. It was good times. Those Saturdays they're all a blur for different reasons.
They're a little blur for different reasons.
It was some good times.
You're a Lafayette native. You ended up going to high school, Beaumont, Texas, I believe.
Houston,
Texas.
Yes.
What am I saying, Beaumont? Houston, Texas. And then you come back home to go to college at LSU, and now you're in New Orleans. How are you loving the city of New Orleans? I know you've been here for years, but how do you like it?
I'm liking it. Lots to eat though. That I have to worry about that one.
I don't even want to start, man, because I used to be a thin man 4 or 5 years ago, and I moved back home, and here we go. Hey, but let's talk Saints right now. I met you at Saints training camp in West Virginia last year. I've seen you around. I know you do a bunch of everything. You kind of do recruiting, you do Saints, you're pretty much at events all over the place.
Oh.
But right now, Saints are winning, so this is kind of your bread and butter. I see you in the press box every game. What is your broad take on this team so far?
Defense. That's clearly been the key to this turnaround, because even when the offense isn't clicking, they're able to shut some teams down. They're able to come up with big stops, and that's been the big surprise. Just you look at those first two games where they gave up nearly 1,000 yards. They've been just on fire defensively since then, forcing turnovers in pretty much almost every game.
Yeah, they're like under 200 yards a game, it seems like, since that first two games. Even with it, they're like 15th in the league if you even count those two in yards given up, but they're in the top 10 in points allowed, and that's even getting some cheapies away like they did against Tampa this week when Snead fumbled the thing. But just look at some of the defensive plays this week. I mean, they were all over the field. They are playing with an attitude. They're playing with swag, and they're getting it done on that side of the ball. And Marshawn Lattimore, need I say more, he shut down one of the greatest receivers in the game and made him look like a rookie. So they're doing some good things on that side of the ball.
Oh, absolutely. Lattimore, you talk about him. He's having a Rookie of the Year type season. You see him breaking up that pass. That was after he got into that little fight there.
The tussle, I like to call it.
He said after the game he wanted him to stay in the game so he could go at him, and he did break up a pass, and you kind of saw him stare him down after that one. No, he's been a I won't say a pleasant surprise, because they were surprised they were able to get him when he fell to that position in the draft. Probably because of the injuries he had in college, but still, he's come along very quickly and really established himself as one of the top cornerbacks in the league, and that's been a really big key for that secondary. They've been able to allow King Crawley to come in and play. He's made some plays for him. P.J. Williams is starting to come back and come on. You look at Marcus Williams, the other rookie.
They're posing right there.
The whole gang, Boot Gang is what they like to call themselves. Off of a little internet meme is what they've been doing there. But you see him there with the other rookie, Marcus Williams, who's played well. Von Bell's come in, allowing Kenny Vaccaro to kind of really just do his thing, and he's having a great season. Obviously went out with an injury in the Tampa Bay game. But the guys are just out here making plays in the secondary, and that's helping the guys up front. You look at Cam Jordan, he's having a Pro Bowl year. Alex Okafor's doing what he said. They're just all in all really coming along as a defense. Unlike
years past when you hoped some of these pickups would produce, whether they be injuries, whether they be situations like Junior Gillette, everything you hope for the most part, except maybe a couple guys like Anzalone not being healthy right now. But like Okafor's a great example. If this guy can give a pass rush, that's going to make Cam Jordan even better. They've all come to fruition. So between the new coaches that they have, maybe some of the schemes that they put in, as well as some good luck with some health in most of these places, and guys coming through, that's been the key part of this team.
Oh, absolutely. And you talk about health. Even with the injuries, they've been able to do well. Craig Robertson has stepped in really well for Alex Anzalone when he went down with that shoulder injury. Okafor is playing well, even on the front of the defensive line. Sheldon Rankins is looking healthier than he has in the past year, even when he came back from that injury last year. So they're really getting a lot out of these guys that are playing, and the production they're getting is really helping them out defensively. They're confident when they go out there now, when the offense turns it over or puts them in a bad spot. You look at the game before when they played, it's escaping me. But
the previous game.
Yeah, before Tampa.
Mark Ingram,
the Bears.
Bears.
Mark Ingram fumbles it, and the defense, went out there with confidence and got a stop, got a 3-and-out, and got the ball back. And that's something that you almost couldn't count on them for the last 4 years. So it's been an interesting turn for them, and it allows the offense to have some leeway to make some mistakes. Drew Brees missed a couple deep balls to Ted Ginn, but the defense didn't make them pay for it because they were able to go out there and keep Tampa off the boards.
Mike Thomas on the offensive side, I want to switch gears there before we run out of time. He's done maybe not as much as some people expected, but still he's going to have a 1,000-yard season. His touchdown total is not very high right now. But the big surprise has been the other guy, Ted Ginn Jr. I mean, I was told this guy couldn't catch the ball. He looks to me like he's the most dangerous receiver on this team.
Yeah, this system is just really highlighting all the things he does well. He joked that he's able to get all those yards after the catch because he plays punt return, but they throw him some screens and he's able to take that ball and make some things happen, uses blocks well. He's obviously a deep threat still. Even at the age of 32, he can still fly and get down the field. So he's just been a really nice addition and a really big surprise for him.
Well, the team that it's usually one side. Obviously, you're in the top in scoring and the top in yards gained, but you're at the bottom. The balance has been huge. Obviously, we just talked about what they're giving up, and they're in the middle of the pack as far as yardage on defense, but they're up top near with the points given up. But the offense is number 2 in the league behind the Patriots right now, as usual. But the special teams, we had the Hardy block punt for a touchdown. It's a team effort, and I have a graphic here I want to show you that you probably would have gotten a lot of money if you had bet this. But the 4 teams that lead in point differential, that's a margin of victory. The Rams, the Eagles, the Jags, and the Saints are number 4. Pretty remarkable when you consider that this team hasn't been there in point differential in a long time.
Oh, yeah, and then you looked at last season, a lot of those games were decided by a field goal or less. They spent a lot of time in training camp this season really working on situations because they were, expecting to be in a lot of these close games, and now all of a sudden they're blowing teams out just because of the way that defense is playing and the offense being efficient when it has to be.
Drew Brees, you seen any drop-off at all? The guy is 38 years old. Father Time never loses, but he still seems pretty efficient.
He seems pretty efficient. That system allows him to really highlight what he's doing, and it shows him really what he's good at, and allows him to dump off screens, allows him to, it doesn't put too much stress on his body. The offensive line's been protecting him, so it's just been a really good year for him.
Well, speaking of a guy that's really good at what he does, this man here, his name is Amos Morale. Not Morale, not Morales, it's Morale, and he does great things for us. And, you cover recruiting well, you cover it all. Here's a gift certificate.
Thank you.
Go check it out. It's Shays de la Shays. We have a tradition. I'm going to get you to sign this ball. I got a little media music wing down here. We have a lot of musicians on this show. So give me your AM the third signature right down there. I got a little space. I got to get a new ball, Tsunami. We got to step that up. Hey, speaking of balling, I got my man Mark Slessinger, who, like I said before, was the Southland conference coach of the year last year. His team went to the NCAA tournament. How are they going to repeat this year? They have 4 of their top 5 returning starters are gone. He's coming up next to tell you all about it right here on Primetime Sports.
The owners of the De La Chaise Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Chez De La Chaise, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez De La Chaise, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and At Mid-City Lane's the home of rock and roll.
Although our name is Lucy's Retired Surfers Bar and Restaurant, there's nothing tired or retired about anything we do. Meet Me at Lucy's has been our slogan and battle cry for nearly 3 decades in New Orleans. Located in the heart of the Warehouse District, Lucy's has truly been the destination spot for nearly every occasion. Whether it's happy hour after work, before and after Saints and Pelicans games, or just a delicious bite to eat at all hours, Lucy's is the perfect place to meet up, hang out, and unwind for a great time. And while you're there, you should try one of our signature surfing cocktails, like the Shark Attack or Blue Whale. And for the truly courageous, our famous Scorpion Tequila Shot. Remember, Meet Me at Lucy's is our slogan, but don't forget to bring your favorite pooch, because our lifeguard chair is always open. Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. Hey, I want to thank Amos Morale, who we just had, and of course, Sammy Martin. Before that, don't forget Pels fans. We're going to talk to Will Guillory coming up. He is from NOLA.com, Times-Picayune, just like Amos, but that's coming up next. But right now, speaking of basketball, well, the Pels didn't have such a great year last year. LSU had one of the worst years in history. Tulane, ditto. They didn't do very well. But one team locally that made us proud was the UNO Privateers on the lakefront. They were picked to be 10th in their own conference out of 13 teams. They went on quite a run last year. They ended up first. A senior-laden team that did some great things. They got to the NCAA tournament. They played one of the most memorable tournament games in UNO history. It was a fun game to watch. It got down to the final wire. But we have the head coach here. They're picked 6th this year with 4 of their top 5 scorers not returning. That is called respect out of a 13-team conference. And here he is once again, one of my favorite people on this planet. I met you back in 2001 in the very first play-in game ever. It was me, Tim Brando, and Rick Pitino was doing the games with us after he left the Celtics before he got to Louisville. And you were an assistant coach with the Northwestern State Demons. Is it the Demons or the Demons. Fighting Demons?
The Demons.
And with McConaughey, right?
Yep.
And then that's when we met.
Yeah, it was an amazing story to think back we go that far. 16, 17 years, but what a great opportunity to be in that game, in that first ever opportunity game for the play-in. And then, to go back to Dayton again last year was really special for not only our program, but our university and the city, obviously.
I met Mark for real, like you got to know him about 5-6 years ago, about 5+ years, and you took over a program that had some dark years, right? UNO has a proud history. They did some great things in the 70s, did some really great things in the 80s and even through the 90s, but they were down. And this is a testament to athletic directors and presidents of universities sticking with the coach because they have some talent, they started down low, and that's what happened with you. Because UNO, you were building something, and I kept watching this team. They played great basketball, but they didn't have the talent. And then I saw it gradually get better, and all of a sudden last year, that was a pivotal year whether to keep a coach after a few losing seasons, and they stuck with you. You ended up being the Southland Conference Coach of the Year. Congratulations on that. And then your team obviously went to the NCAA tournament. That's a testament to the management and administration working together with the coach to make this thing right.
It's really rare in this business that you find a president and an athletic director that will stay with you and see the thing through. And I think they had Dr. Foss, Dr. Nicolo, and Mr. Derek Morrell had a very good understanding of where we were. And putting it in context that it wasn't an overnight fix if you wanted to do it the right way. And I think that we did a great job of getting staff in there, number one, that bought into what we were doing in a coaching ministry perspective and not just a coaching job, and developing young people, guiding them, and then getting talent in each year where our talent got better and better and better as our program got better. And obviously this year, coming off of last year's success, we're in a lot of doors that we weren't able to get in before from the end of a recruiting base in getting some guys involved with some guys that we weren't able to get to before.
Coach, you put your money where your mouth was, because let me say this, you could have gone probably a number of places. I mean, you got a hot year, and a lot of times coaches will leave a mid-major and go for the better job. But you had always stressed to me, this is your dream place to be. You said New Orleans is my home. I love this city. And you followed up. I know people were calling you. How hard was it? Because you got a nice extension, and deservedly so. But some might say you could have left for greener pastures, but you stuck around.
Yeah, I think you got to be where number one, where God wants you to be, and I think that the Lord has always put my wife and I in a great situation here to be able not only to be a part of a great community and a great neighborhood in Pontchartrain Park where we live, but then to be part of our city that we love, and we still believe that we're doing our small little piece in rebuilding the city and bringing it back to where it should be. And then, we have so much invested. You've invested now 7 years into day in and day out into a program and building a culture, building a base back that was non-existent. And we're finally experiencing the renaissance that we've been working for all these years. And so it was an easy decision to want to stay here and stay for a long time, hopefully, that the school will keep me here for a while and be able to be here and continue to grow and see these guys develop. And I think in coaching, there's chasers and there's builders, and I always like to think that I'm a builder and a guy that wants to be in a place and build something that I can look back on and be proud of.
I'm proud of that statement you just made. That's poignant words, Coach, and you were rewarded, and rightfully so, and I'm so happy you're still here. Let's talk about what you got to replace, though. I have a graphic here that's kind of astounding because you have the Southland Conference Player of the Year, Eric Thomas, who had a crazy great year. Obviously, 13 teams, there's 5 stars in each team. This guy was considered the best of them all. And then you talk about guys like Christavius Gill and Nate Fry, who really, those two guards seem like they've been around since the Bush administration, the first one. They've been around a long time, but you're replacing over 4,000 career points. I know this must pain you to look at it. Tevin Boyles was one of the team leaders as well. That's a lot of firepower. 4 of your top 5 scorers gone.
It really is. It was a weird feeling last year, having Christavius, Tevin, and Nate together for 4 years. One of those guys started nearly every game the entire 4 years. So it was a very strange feeling the other day going to a scrimmage into an exhibition game and not having those guys there.
That big guy, Eric Thomas, would be tough to replace.
And Eric was one of the most efficient scorers in the nation. Was very, very unselfish, even though he led us in scoring and was the second leading scorer in our league. He was very unselfish, played within the team concept. I couldn't say enough about those 4 guys. What a great group of guys to coach. And they bought into what we were doing and believed in what we were doing. And they're one of the guys, 4 of the guys that I'll look back on and feel very fond of.
I mean, it's gonna have great memories for the rest of your life with those guys. But time does go on, and players do move on, and now you're in the next step. Because I feel like you have another big 3 in waiting. Guys that have experience like those guys. It starts off, there you go, that's Traven Thibodeau, number 25, Michael Zeno in the middle, and the guy that I'm really, really looking forward to some big things for, because I've watched his progression, is Makura Poe. Talk about what these guys can do for your team.
They're an amazing group, the 3 of them. I think collectively, our league, ironically, has a great group of forwards in it. I think the depth at forward in our league is as good as I've ever seen it. But that being said, I think we have the best collection of forwards in our league.
Yes.
With those 3 guys, adding Scott Plaisance in from Country Day at semester, a freshman in Bolrac, and in junior college transfer. We've got a great group, but those 3 guys in particular have had tremendous growth over the summer. McCour's growth has been phenomenal, the way that he has increased his offensive skill package, along with adding in a natural rebounder and shot blocker. And, he goes 7 for 7 from the foul line the other night in our exhibition game. And really, that's a testament to how hard that guy's been working. And Zeno's the same way. Zeno has morphed himself from being an inside-only guy to really being a 2-3 combo as well that can play on the perimeter and do a lot of things, not just on the block. And then Thibodeau is, obviously one of the most skilled big men in our league and can really do a lot of things, from having a triple-double last year, being one of the top assist guys in the league, and that from a power forward position.
Triple doubles in college are hard to get.
Very difficult.
I mean,
to get.
the LSU's only had like a small handful, and Pistol has most of them. That's funny.
And I think he's really grown and done a lot over the summer, not just basketball wise, but maturity as well.
Well, the incident at the tournament, unfortunately, that's what a lot of people are going to remember. Some say it could have possibly cost you a chance to go to the next round. How has he recovered from that moment where he and Christavius Gill got into a little bit?
He's grown a lot. I think he had a great summer from the end of a personal development wise. And it's a hard lesson for young people to get that. 5 seconds, unfortunately, defined defined him in how he was
Right.
how he
That's
was looked at.
unfortunate 'cause he's a
You know,
good
it's
guy.
hard to tell people
Yeah.
that, you know, Mardi Gras night was my son's birthday, and he calls me and comes over and brings me my birthday present and plays with my kids for an hour and a half.
I'm glad you're saying that story.
You know,
Good.
there's things like that people don't see and hear. They only see that 5 seconds. He's an extremely competitive person on the floor, but he's also an honor student. He's been academic All-Southland Conference, and you know he's pre-dental. He's on track to go to dental school when his basketball career ends, and is a very talented young man who's
He's going to be
the
known as
sky's
one of the
the limit.
greats that ever played at UNO, I have a feeling.
Yeah, he's got such a complete package from the end of his skill set. You know, you talk about Jaime Uredo, and you talk about different guys that are big guys that have played with good skill sets in the state, and he's one of those guys that'll be there.
Speaking of one of the guys that was on our show not long ago, Lamont Burzat's one of the guys competing to replace Gil and Fry at the point guard position. Talk about that battle between he and Troy Green and some of the other guys. You got, you know, and the two guards open as well, Jorge Rosa and some of those other guys.
Yeah, it's been Lamont's a fiery competitor. You know, obviously won 3 state championships at Landry Walker High School. Troy Green came in from East St. John, has done a tremendous job of competing right away. And then you add in Bryson Robinson and Jorge Rosa to be able to really, really add in some depth in what we're doing. This is the most depth I've had since we've been at UNO. Obviously our biggest team since we've been at UNO. So I'm excited to see how quickly they can gel together in a very, very tough non-conference slate to start the year.
Coach, great things going on the lakefront. I mean, you're the first basketball coach I'm having, well, Alvin Gentry's here, but the first college coach I've had live here with the new season. I wanted to have you first, as you did so well last seson. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it so much.
And you have been to Shays de la Shays, I
Yes.
hope, and I hope you had a good time last time.
Amazing. My wife, we will appreciate date night part 2.
Date night part 2, and you're on one of these Saints balls, but I got to get you on this. I got this ball for Karl Malone. A lot of greats have been on it since then, and I want to definitely get you on there. Maybe they're by, yeah. You mind being by WLAE? Is that all right? All right,
no.
there you go. The new LSU coach and the old UNO coach will be there together. Dunleavy's on that ball. A lot of guys locally, but now my man, Mark Slessinger, is on my basketball. I am honored. Hey, thank you so much, Mark. Hey, coming up next, we're going to stay with the basketball theme. I've got Will Guillory. He is one of the beat writers for the New Orleans Pelicans. They are 5-5 with a pivotal game tonight against the Indiana Pacers on the road. He's going to talk Pels and all things going with Rondo coming back. How is he going to fit back in this team and more right here on Primetime Sports? Welcome back to Primetime Sports. You know I'm a big Pelicans fan, so I wanted to save this for last. And by the way, we have a connection with Mark Slessinger, who was just on, and my next guest, Will Guillory, who is with NOLA.com and Times Picayune. He is the Pelicans beat writer for that magazine, of course, online as well. He's done some work with The Advocate, but before that, he was a graduate of UNO. When Mark Slessinger was starting, he was writing for their student newspaper, Driftwood. And you got to know old Sless back then. Welcome to the show, Will.
I appreciate you for having me.
And
Thank
by the
you.
way, Catholic League, Brother Martin.
That's
It
right.
just seems like a lot of the Catholic League people seem to drift to the media. But welcome back. Welcome to the show. And how about this? Tell me about your relationship with old Sless.
Oh, man, that's my guy. I've been knowing Sless forever. I used to write about UNO in the Driftwood. Like you said, I started writing UNO basketball right after I graduated. He taught me everything I know about basketball. I like to tell him that all the time.
Oh, boy.
But, yeah, I mean, Sless, great guy. I love him. You know, taught me a lot of what I know and helped me in this business. I can't thank him enough every time I
If
see him.
there is one person in this city of New Orleans that most people say, that's my guy, it's Mark Slessinger. He has a way about him because I thought I was his only guy. And I was like, I used to say that, and people were like, dude, that's my guy. That's not just your guy, that's my guy. So, yes, Sless is a great guy. and his UNO team did great things last year. You're a proud alum.
Absolutely.
You had to be proud of what they did.
I was very happy about what they did last year. I mean, I got to experience it as a writer and as a fan. I got to cover a couple of their games and just seeing, how they had that meteoric rise. It was crazy. I mean, if you would have told me when I was at UNO that they would be playing in the NCAA tournament,
How crazy, man.
I would have probably laughed at you.
I mean, the program was waning. I mean,
Yeah.
they were even considering maybe not having it anymore. But let's talk about the Pelicans. I know that's what people want to hear about. When Rajon Rondo had the sports hernia before the season, and we were all hearing, it was going to be 4 to 6 weeks, and we're like, oh no, here we go again. Everybody was worried again about the Pelicans having one of those 0-8, 0-11 starts, or 1-11, whatever. But I said, listen, if they can go 5-5, they might be onto something. Now we've got a date that Rondo's apparently going to come back November 17th, and they're 5-5, and they have a road game tonight against Indiana. What is your take from the season so far?
Yeah, I think the offense, we expected to have a little bit of a downfall once Rondo went out just because so much of the offense was going to run through him as the point guard. So they've had a couple ugly nights on offense. They've depended probably a little bit too much on Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins at times.
Right.
But for whatever reason this year, they've been able to find ways to win games. They've been putting together some of these ugly performances against maybe the Lakers or the Mavericks or the Bulls.
They've already had 4 road wins.
Yes.
No, granted, we know they're not great teams, but you've got 4 road wins and it's early November. That's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, for a team that struggled mightily on the road the past few seasons under Alvin Gentry, just to be able to figure out just ways to win games. That's what they talked about a lot after these past few games. You can not play your best. You can not score a whole bunch of points. As long as you find ways to get wins on the board, that's all that matters.
Well, you see that guy in that picture there. I'm glad my producer brought that up because that's who I wanted to. He was a godsend. That's Jameer Nelson, of course, a longtime NBA player, most recently with the Nuggets. But tell the audience how important it was to get this guy because in my mind, other than Rondo, you didn't have a true point guard on this team.
Yeah, and that was the issue, is when they signed Drew Holiday, they knew he wasn't going to be the point guard for the team going forward. That's why they brought Rondo in.
Right.
But once Rondo goes down, you no longer have a point guard on the roster. So you bring in Jameer Nelson. He's a veteran presence, a guy that can knock down open shots, get to the lane and create for other guys. So that's allowed Drew Holiday and some of those guys like Etuan Moore, some of those guys who don't really want the ball in their hands. They can kind of play off of DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis and, play to their strengths rather than trying to create shots off of pick and roll, which is, not exactly what they do best.
Well, you were out in L.A., right?
Yes.
The first win, and they had the big lead. They just picked up Jameer Nelson like the night before or that morning, and the Pels seem to do this a lot. They pick up guys over the last 5 years, and all of a sudden they're playing 30 minutes in the game.
Right.
But that's what he did, and they went down after having the big lead, but he hit the big shot, which that's the kind of game the Pels have been losing.
Right.
And like you said, they're pulling games out this year that they haven't been in the past. So are you encouraged or discouraged by the start or expected?
I'm encouraged by the results, not necessarily where they're playing. I think they have to get a lot more from those other guys. I think Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins are obviously 2 of the better guys in the league. But you're going to need more production from other people if you're going to be a real team in the Western Conference. There's so many good teams out there.
Yeah.
You're going to need production from other guys. But I think just the confidence they have so far and the way they're winning games in the fourth quarter, you have to be encouraged about that and just the overall belief they have. I think that's a good.
You're a straight shooter. And the West is tough. I mean, the West has 8 to 12 teams that really could be playoff type teams. Where do you think this team, when they get their full strength back, where do you think they're going to shake out? I'm not saying give me a full prediction, but just how well do you think they're going to play, and what difference is Rondo going to make on this team?
I think the impact of getting Rondo back is kind of getting slept on right now. I think he's going to make a huge difference, just allowing Drew Holiday to play more of his natural role, allowing DeMarcus Cousins to focus more on scoring rather than creating.
Yes,
I think that's going to be a big difference for this team. So I think once he gets back, if they can get a healthy season out of him, healthy season out of Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, I see no reason why they shouldn't at least be able to grab that 8th seed in the Western Conference. And if they don't, it might get a little ugly over there.
It might get ugly. Let me say this, though. I'm going to stress one thing that was important about this 5-5 start, because that Bulls game, that could have gone either way. That was overtime on the road, and they pulled that out to even up 500. They have a modest 2-game win streak, but the fragile personalities on this team. I don't have to tell you, Boogie Cousins and Rajon Rondo, when things are going well, hey, they're great team players, but we've seen when things go south, and that's not just them. That's just human nature.
Right.
When things start going south, people start getting a little upset. Hey, they might start looking more at their own stats and why I'm not playing. But when you're winning, none of that seems to matter as much. So that's my point. Having this 5-5 start before Rondo gets back, because if they're in like a he's got 5 more games out. So let's just say they're in a 3-12 tailspin when he gets there.
Right.
I think the attitudes might be a little different. I think this, having won 4 road games, is only going to be a blessing in the future for this team.
Exactly. I mean, it's like, just like you brought up earlier, the way they've started the season the past 2 years, then to start out once again with another bad season would have been, catastrophic for this team and for Alvin Gentry probably in particular. So I think just getting a few wins under their belt early has been big for them. And ultimately, you also have the DeMarcus Cousins thing hanging over their head with his contract situation.
Well, that's what I was going next.
So, you have to prove that this team can win, because if you don't, then who knows what the future looks like.
You read my mind, because I saw you in the media room when all the interviews are being done on Media Day, and the thing that sticks to me the most is Anthony Davis flat out admitted, we are playing this season for DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, look, DeMarcus Cousins was part of the group that was basically recruiting Drew Holiday to come back. Well, now it's going to be his turn to be recruited, and how important will a successful, or at least improvement that he can see, how important will that be for him to come back?
Absolutely, because, I mean, what amazing thing about DeMarcus Cousins, he's one of the best players in the league, but he still hasn't even seen the playoffs yet.
Right,
I mean, he
never.
spent the first part of his career with the Kings.
They give Chris Paul a hard time not to get to the conference finals, but Cousins hasn't been in a playoff game.
Hasn't even played one playoff game yet, and Anthony Davis has only played 4 when they got swept against the Warriors. So this team still has a lot to prove as far as what they can do in the biggest games, and they just want to show that they can, stand next to some of these big teams in the West and prove that they can, deliver on that stage. And I think DeMarcus Cousins is dying for that opportunity. It's just about putting himself in the right opportunity. And he I think at this point he probably believes that the Pelicans are the right team for him, but results matter more than anything else.
Who do you think is going to be the biggest beneficiary, and not, besides the obvious of AD and Rondo, Boogie, of Rondo coming back? Because you know how important spacing is in the league, and Jameer Nelson certainly helped, but Rondo's a guy that will get guys better shots. I mean, you heard it when DeMarcus Cousins said, listen, he just makes the game easier for everybody that's on the court with him. Who do you think are some of the other guys on the team that might be beneficiaries when Rondo does come back?
I think Drew Holiday is a guy that a lot of people have been frustrated with through the first 10 games.
Yes.
Some of his shooting numbers have been down this year. He's just playing with an overall, lower confidence level, I believe, just when you watch him. And I think getting Rondo back, allowing him, just like I said, to play off the ball more often, use his ability to cut off the ball, to spot up, and just kind of threaten teams without having all the eyes on him, I think will be a big factor for Drew. And I think just not having that pressure of creating shots as much as he needs to, I think it'll be big for him overall.
Will Guillory, it's been a pleasure.
I appreciate you for having me, sir.
NOLA.com, Times-Picayune, beat writer for the Pelicans. Please check him out. I got a gift certificate for you.
Wow.
That's a place uptown. I know you're a Brother Martin guy, but you come uptown. That's off Carrollton Avenue between Carrollton and Broadway on Maple Street. Since you're the basketball beat writer, I was going to have you sign Saints, but you want to do basketball?
Oh, I got to do basketball.
You got to do basketball. I got a little spot for you here, right? How about this? We got you right over here.
Yes, sir.
We got WLAE, we got Del Demps, we got Alvin Gentry, we got Carl the Mailman Malone on that ball. That ball will never be on eBay, but it could be. Hey, we got a lot of people to thank. I want to thank Amos Morale for being on this show. Obviously, Will Guillory. And, hey, what about my man Sammy Martin? Great LSU Tiger, great New England Patriot, played for the Colts, a little bit with the Saints, and a Dallas South Cavalier. I want to thank him. And also my main man, Mark Schlesinger. My man, not your man. He's everybody's man.
That's my
Mark
man.
Schlesinger. But I got to thank my man Will Hill, the producer of this show, everybody at WLAE and CST. Hey, Josh Smoove. That's Jay Smoove. Josh Smith is his name. We got Kenny Juno, the Redhead Tsunami, Peter Drennan. I can't thank you all enough. We'll see you next week back here on Primetime Sports.